Well, the merry-go-round continues, and it is manager special time again in EFL Championship. And this time, it is a bit closer to home because it's my club, Luton Town, who have made the managerial change. After patience and persistence with Rob Edwards, the change has eventually come, with Luton Town following relegation from the Premier League, hovering just 2 points above the Championship relegation zone. He is out and replaced with Matt Bloomfield, the Wycombe head coach, who was absolutely flying at the top end of League One. And as always with these specials, we're going to talk about the old man, the new man, and the future for Luton Town. Hopefully you're looking forward to that. A quick note to say this will be one of 2 episodes relating to Luton Town. Craig and Charlie are going to join me, and we're going to do a sort of Luton special over the next week or so. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. But for now, before we go and move on to the new man in at Kenilworth Road, let's go and talk about the stint of Rob Edwards, which now becomes a rather curious one because he took over in November 22, just before the Winter World Cup, and oversaw 18 months that will live long in the memory for every single Luton fan, particularly those of us who went through the National League years and the 10 years of constant administrations, turbulence and relegations before it. But Luton Town, after being taken over by Rob Edwards, went flying into the playoff places in the EFL Championship, finished in 3rd pretty comfortably the season, and managed to win promotion via penalty kicks to the Premier League against Coventry City. A day that I'll never forget, and many Luton fans will say the same. And following it was a year of, well, brilliant hard-fought battles in the Premier League. Luton Town were slow starters. There was a lot of talk about us breaking Derby's point record before the season started. Ironically, Southampton might be getting close to that the way they're going this year. But in the end, Luton were able to push on, and at one stage, probably around the start of February, after a 4-0 win at home to Brighton, looked like they might survive in the Premier League with a resurgent Ross Barkley, 2 goal-scoring strikers, and plenty more to be admired as well. However, unfortunately, towards the end of the season, the whole defence got injured, which has become a theme of the last year under Rob Edwards, and we went down in the end with a couple of games to spare, albeit having put up a half-decent fight, and certainly a better fight than the 2 automatically promoted sides. And then came the curious case of this season, because one of the things a lot of people accused Luton of the summer before when coming up to the Premier League was basically preparing for life in the Championship a year later, which obviously they proved on the pitch they weren't quite ready to do. But it was a group of players that performed out of their skin and probably above all expectation and ability last season. And coming into this year, a lot of people, I know we were guilty of it, but let's be honest, there were plenty of people who aren't Luton fans who were as well. Pretty much everyone unanimously had Luton in the top 6. And the problem that came this season is that, well, I put it down to a few things. I've discussed it in brief detail before in live streams and whatever. There was a change in the summer where Luton tried to adapt to this passing out style. They tried to control games. They tried to get the ball on the floor, which, yes, is a lovely idea, and I understand the reasonings for it. We had some talented midfield players. We had an extra man at the back due to the system Rob Edwards was playing. And we were probably going to face a lot of sides, particularly at home, that were going to sit behind the ball a lot. However, when you've got 2 big strikers and not a great deal of pace in the team in many areas, it doesn't really make sense. And I think a mixture of perhaps trying to change a bit too much too soon in terms of style. And we've got to remember it's a situation Rob Edwards had never been in before. He'd taken Forest Green up, left for Watford, obviously came to us, took us up. He'd not been in one of those situations where he'd taken a team down and then had to try and rebuild at a lower level, where they were going to be one of the big fish unexpectedly. Hadn't happened to Luton for many a year. So it did make it a little bit more difficult. But in the end, I think a mixture of that, probably a rare off window for recruitment. And I've got to get this out of the way because some Luton fans, maybe some of the younger ones who don't remember the tough times, criticising the board. I mean, let's be honest, over the last 10 years, most windows, they've got pretty much everything right. They've been questioned most windows and still managed to get it right. So I think we need to be a little bit calmer on that front. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, a combination of those factors, and then the fact that after that pre-season, more defensive injuries, then trying to adapt back to the previous style gradually over sort of October, November, trying to find a way to win, it just didn't happen. And as a result, Rob Edwards leaves in January after, it must be said, the most unfortunate of defeats against QPR, given the way the winning goal went in. It just ended up being one of those. But the writing had been on the wall. Luton's away record has been dismal this year. 4 points from 13 matches. Only Plymouth's is worse. And that win was right back at the start of the season as well at Millwall. And also at home, while there had been better results, more victories, they'd been by the skin of the teeth. There'd not been many wholly dominant performances. I mentioned even in recent weeks on the prediction show, games like the Derby one where you almost feel sorry for the opposition not getting something out of the game because Lord knows we didn't deserve something out of that. So overall, I think we have to put it down as a wonderful stint overall for Rob Edwards because, let's be honest, he took Luton Town to the Premier League and almost kept them up when pretty much every neutral was talking about Derby's point record at the start of the season. A mixture of mistakes from coaching, from recruitment, and perhaps you've got to say as well, even if the players are working at 95%, if they've just lost that little edge, that little bit of tempo where they were playing at beyond 100% last season, even if you lose 5%, this Luton Town team, it's not brilliant enough on paper that it can go and steamroll the championship. So a combination of a few factors with some misfortune on the injury front as well, particularly to players like Doughty and Bell in the last year who had never previously missed games. I think those things combined all ended up contributing to Rob Edwards' demise. But overall, as a Luton fan, he will always be a club legend. The statement was classy when he left the club, and he gave Luton Town Premier League football, which will always be remembered. But we do have to move on. Eras do move on. And now we've got to talk about Matt Bloomfield, who himself, a bit of a one-club man and a one-club legend, has now moved from Wycombe Wanderers to Luton Town. The 40-year-old, let's have a quick look at the statement, has been appointed as manager, not head coach, and brings with him Richard Thomas, Lee Harrison and Ben Cern. He's put pen to paper on a 3.5-year deal and will be in charge this weekend as Luton Town host Preston. We'll get to the fixtures and the timing in a minute. He made over 500 appearances for Wycombe as a one-club man, having been released from Ipswich as a youngster. And then after a brief managerial stint with Colchester, which was steady if unspectacular, he came back to Wycombe Wanderers, where after, it must be said, a relatively slow start, he's managed to improve the levels of entertainment, improve the playing style, bring in a lot of pace and dynamism to his team, and with the help of some Luton legends such as Fred Onyedinma this season, Sonny Bradley in the last couple of games, including his last one against Portsmouth in the Cup, built a side that is competing probably against the odds for promotion. I know Wycombe had been in a championship a few years ago, but pretty much everyone thought Birmingham would walk it this year due to their budget, and Matt Bloomfield has made that more difficult for them. So an incredible effort from him. They've talked about the calendar year of 2024, 87 points and 107 goals in League One. Can he bring that form to Luton Town, as well as reaching the EFL Trophy final there? Let's be honest straight away, I don't think we're going to see any repeat of sort of like Doncaster last year, where they went from 22nd to 5th towards the end of the season. 15 points off the playoffs might be a little bit too far. But maybe for Matt Bloomfield as a one-club man, and I don't really know the Wycombe reaction to it yet, this move is a little understandable because Rob Edwards obviously got longer than most managers would probably get. He had 2.5 years in charge, and we talk about the average lifespan of a championship manager. If you are going to get stability, Luton are probably one of the few clubs in the championship that are going to offer you a say, a bit of time and a bit of patience. Of course, the playing style is an attraction. While not beautiful passing football at all realms, it's always front-footed and attacking, and that's something Luton have always tried to do in recent seasons, even in the Premier League, going toe-to-toe with some of the top sides. One of the big things that's come out of his stint at Wycombe is obviously his character, the fact that he's been able to build a side, gel a team together that can work at the top level and perform again above expectation and above its size. And you just have to look at what he's achieved there this year. The results have been spectacular. 50 goals scored in 25. They are the top scorers in the division, far outscoring Birmingham and the likes up there. But there is a concern on the Luton front as well, because we mentioned earlier briefly that away record, 4 points from 13 games. We also mentioned the fact that if you go and have a look at the championship table, Luton's defensive record is still the second worst after Plymouth Argyle, who have largely been managed openly by Wayne Rooney most of this season. 27 goals conceded from Wycombe is the worst in that top four, and there are a few others in the top half that are better as well. So perhaps that is one area of concern. Is that going to improve quickly enough? Of course, doesn't matter if the goals are going in at the other end, but we've got a few strikers either out of form, fitness or confidence at the minute. So bringing that style from Wycombe was always going to be an entertaining factor. And we've got to be fair, bar Graham Jones, Luton haven't got much wrong in recent years. The appointment of John Still was a brilliant one. The appointment of Nathan Jones the first time was magnificent. The second time was inspired when there was a little bit of reticence from the Luton fans. And the appointment of Rob Edwards just after leaving rivals Watford, again with a little bit of resistance behind, was still absolutely remarkable. So hopefully this will fulfill the criteria as well, but it is a gamble. And we mentioned the fact that Matt Bloomfield has been a one-club man, bar 5 months at Colchester. Pretty much all he's known for over 20 years is Wickham. And while his win rate is impressive at 48%, of course they're brilliant to watch. They're not necessarily always free-flowing, playing short passing football, but they're always front-footed. They're attacking at speed. And hopefully that will mean width, getting balls into the box and suiting the front two that we've got, who we've seen in the Premier League last season, when they're on form, can be absolutely devastating against any defence. So for Matt Bloomfield, the only risk is really that he's not got much experience outside of Luton. But unlike the only one that did go wrong in Graham Jones since we've returned to the EFL, he has got a lot of managerial experience and in the EFL. There had obviously been a talk about Richard Kone. I wonder if he will be part of a clause that cannot be poached now as a striker. But Luton Town have got a team that we know maybe did overperform to get to the Premier League, but has certainly got the capability to stay up. I think one of the things we're going to have to see before the window closes is defensive additions. Obviously, Tom Lockyer, there was the hope of coming back quickly, but the fact that he's now got a big leg injury as well means he's going to be out for the season. And there are so many that just can't stay fit there. We know Doughty's been out long term. Bella's been in and out. Mengi's had surgery. I think the club didn't expect Osho to leave in the summer early. And obviously, the McGuinness replacement has been tough to say the least. And I will give him the mitigation while I'm not his biggest fan as a player and never was at Cardiff either. He has been playing across a completely different backline virtually every week and with fullbacks at left and right centre half. And that's going to be the other question. Will it remain a back three? Will we see a back four at times as well? There was a little bit of variation and experiment at the end from Rob Edwards. Whether we'll see that from Matt Bloomfield, I don't know. But it's not really a time for experiment, is it? Because we go and have a look at the table. Luton Town are 2 points above the relegation zone. And while it's unlikely, given the fixtures to be played, at the end of the games in hand for other teams this midweek, they could be in the bottom three when they face Preston in Bloomfield's first game. So a very important half season to go. Luton Town have just got to find a way to get results at the minute and get themselves away from trouble. There is experience and there is quality in the squad, but there has got to be a way to improve that away form. At home, Luton have been finding a way to get over the line most of the time. Away from home, there has to be answers. And whether that's quicker counter-attacking, whether that's a change of style, it's going to be a big task for Matt Bloomfield, especially when the one criticism of his Wickham team was at times the defensive record. And it's certainly the criticism of Luton this year. One of the things we have talked about, though, and I don't want to sound like a broken record in these Championship Manager specials, but we're seeing a lot more focus go into timing when it comes to appointments at the minute. Because if you look at Luton Town's first 4 home fixtures, they're against Preston, Millwall, Plymouth Argyle, and after Sheffield United, it's Portsmouth as well. So 4 of those first 5 against teams in the bottom half, 2 of them, 2 of the 4 sides below Luton. It is imperative that Matt Bloomfield gets off to a good home start. There's still 2 weeks of the window to perhaps add a defensive option and maybe just one more bit of variation in attack. And of course, even if you look at some of those away games, the first away one is against Oxford United, who have started brilliantly under Gary Rowett, but again, are a side that have come up and were 2 divisions apart last year. So Luton Town have got the chance to start well. The flip side of that, and we have to say it and we have to urge caution because it's been a tough year. If they do go wrong, Luton could have some real trouble because after that, we mentioned that Sheffield United game 3 days after Sunderland, but then into March, you've got Burnley, you've got Middlesbrough, you've got Leeds United, and then later in April, you finish with Coventry and West Brom. It is not an easy finish to the season. Luton Town have got to start fairly fast and it needs to be a new manager bounce. Of course, Matt Bloomfield is going to have had most of the week to work with the team to imprint a few little ideas. Luton are still very strong from set pieces. They've scored over 40% of their goals from set pieces this year. So there is a way, if they can make themselves a little bit more solid at the back, that they can find a way to get results without it being pretty initially. Whether or not I think it will, I think this might take time. Matt Bloomfield has improved as the time has gone on at Wickham, so I don't think we're going to see the fireworks initially. However, if they can get themselves out of trouble and stay up this season, it'll be a big rebuild in the summer, and I think that's all we need. So my hope is to survive comfortably and nothing else more. I'm not sure it's going to be as comfortable as some people expect, but I do expect Luton to survive now. But as I say, with 2 points off the bottom three and 15 points to the playoffs, I think we'll just worry about consolidation now. Next season is going to be an interesting one. The summer is going to be big. And the other question we normally ask at this stage, if Luton do survive as we expect, what will happen over the next 3 seasons? Will Matt Bloomfield see out his contract? Well, history says probably not, both from the Championship and from Luton. But for most cases with Luton Town, it's because the manager is poached. And in Nathan Jones' case, that happened twice. Rob Edwards, it was close in the summer, or believed to be close. If Matt Bloomfield can start well here, and certainly if he can have a strong start to next season, he'll probably be a wanted man. And Luton Town will always be a selling club, whether it's managers or players. So for me, I'm hopeful and optimistic that Luton can survive this year, but I don't think it's going to be the really comfortable ascent that people are predicting now. I think it will be safety by 6 to 10 points rather than flying up to the top half. Let us know what you think, though. It doesn't matter my opinion. Luton Town fans, EFL Championship fans, what do you think? Do you think this is a good appointment? Are you surprised Matt Bloomfield, as a largely one-club man, has picked now to leave Wycombe, when ultimately these two clubs could be swapping places next year? I'll be interested to get your thoughts on that in the comments below. Let us know if you think he's a good appointment and how you think Luton will start under his tutelage. And do you think there'll be much more happening for the rest of the January window? If you enjoyed this special, do chuck a thumbs up on it, subscribe and turn that notification bell on, as there's plenty more to come. We will be back with Championship predictions on Thursday, so look ahead to the whole weekend fixture list, including Luton Town versus Preston in Matt Bloomfield's first game. And of course, we're also waiting on a West Brom manager special now after the talks broke down with Raphael Vicky. We're waiting to see who the new man will be. But thank you very much for watching and joining us for another manager special. We'll see you back here on Thursday as we get back to Championship predictions.